Bonjour mes amis, bienvenue. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Language Tutor French series. I have a really cool lesson for you today. I'm going to be talking to you about reflexive in French. Now, reflexive is a certain kind of verb, and we have to use them a certain way. It's not a big deal though, okay? But, you know, in English, we don't really have this. We don't really have to use it in English. It kind of makes sense, and we just clarify when necessary. But in French, we do have reflexive verbs, and we have to use them a certain way. All right, so first of all, I want to explain to you that a reflexive verb means that someone is doing something to one's self. It might be getting oneself dressed, or bathing oneself, or putting oneself to bed, or getting oneself up. You know, we just say, hey, I got up at 6 this morning. In French, we have to use the reflexive to say, I got myself up at 6 this morning. So that's kind of what reflexive is. Now, if you're looking in a dictionary and you're looking up verbs, or you're online looking up new verbs, and you see this right here, se, with the verb, that's a dead giveaway. It's telling you, hey, I am reflexive. That's what it's telling you when you see se next to it. Okay, so what I want to do is start by giving you some verbs, a list of reflexive verbs that you can go ahead and put down and know here are some very common reflexive verbs, and they're going to have se with them, okay? So let's just go ahead and list them, and then I'm going to show you what to do with them. First of all, se coucher, which means to go to bed, to put oneself to bed. Se coucher. Next one is se laver. Se laver, which means to wash one's self. This one is s'appeler. S'appeler. Now notice the s has now become an S apostrophe because you know the rule. The word after it that it's with starts with a vowel, so it's going to become part of the word. It's going to be S apostrophe s'appeler. So you'll see several of those like that in this list. Okay, but that means to be called, you know, to call oneself. All right, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Next one is s'arrêter. S'arrêter, which means to stop oneself. Se baigner, which means to go swimming, to bathe oneself is kind of what you're saying. Se baigner. The next one is se passer, which means to take place or to happen. And then you have se trouver, which means to be situated. Let's get several more. Se lever, which means to get up, to raise oneself, or to stand up. The next one is se promener. Se promener, which means to go for a walk, to take oneself for a walk. This one is s'asseoir, s'asseoir, which means to sit down, to sit oneself down. The next one is s'amuser, which means to play or enjoy oneself. And next is se réveiller, which means to wake up. You know, in English we say it's réveillé. If you're in the military, réveillé comes from the French word. Okay, and I think that's a good list, okay? Now, let's talk about what we're supposed to do with these for a few minutes, all right? Now, we're going to use a reflexive pronoun with each one of these phrases. Now, when I say reflexive pronoun, I'm talking about se. But now sometimes those are going to change, and I'll give those to you in just a minute. But I want to remind you of this example from way back in the very beginning of our series. Je m'appelle. My name is. Je m'appelle. Now, what we're doing is we're saying, I myself call. Okay, that M apostrophe at the beginning is a reflexive pronoun, and it means to myself. Now, notice it's coming in front of the verb, and that's where we put reflexive pronouns, in front of the verb. Okay, so let's go ahead and put up our chart, and then we will put the reflexive pronouns on there, and I'm going to explain what these are. Okay, and then we're going to do some examples of reflexive. So first of all, in the top left, we're going to put m. So if I do something to myself, I'm getting myself up, I'm getting myself ready, putting myself to bed, I'm going to use me. Now, in a minute, just a second ago, you saw je m'appelle. And you know why it became an M apostrophe, because it joined, and appel started with a vowel. So that's why we made it an M apostrophe. But if I do something to myself, that is me. Now, if you do something to yourself, that would be te. Okay, so that goes in the middle left of our chart is te. Now, at the bottom left, we're going to use se. That's what we use. One does something to oneself, he or she, or one in general. Okay, now at the top right, let's put this one, nous. Yes, it's the same thing as we. You're gonna find this interesting because we actually repeat it. We'll see that in a minute. And then of course the vous form is also vous. And then on the bottom right, we're also going to use se for the they forms. Okay, so we have me, de, se, nous, vous, and se. Okay, let's take off the chart and let's do an example. Let's put this one up, to go to bed. Okay, let's use se coucher, to go to bed. We're going to use that as our example for showing you how to do reflexive. Now, I want to conjugate this verb with each one of the pronouns to show you how it works. So let's start with this. I go to bed. Okay, we won't worry about finishing the sentence right now. We won't say at 10 o'clock or whatever. Let's just start with the phrase itself. So I go to bed is going to be this. Je me couche. Now notice I have conjugated couche, coucher, the same as I would any other time. Okay, I'm just going to conjugate the verbs the same way. So don't forget what you know about verb conjugations. All you got to do is conjugate the verb with je, just like you've always done. But the only thing we have to notice is that we're going to put me right before the verb, saying I, myself, go to bed. Okay? Now, so it'd be je me couche. Now let's go, you go to bed. I'm talking to one person, a friend, someone informally. It would be tu te couches. Now notice I've conjugated tu couches, same as I always have. But I'm putting te in front of it to show that you do that to yourself. You yourself go to bed. All right, now let's conjugate it with he. Il se couche. He goes to bed. Il se couche. Okay? He goes to bed. Conjugate it the same as always. We're putting se in front of it because to himself, he's doing that. Now, she goes to bed. Same thing, just we're going to change it to elle. Elle se couche. Conjugate it just like always. And one in general. You know, you're at a camp or something. When does everybody go to bed? Oh, one goes to bed at, people in general is what you're saying. On se couche. Okay, just like the he and she form. Now, here's where you're going to find it interesting. Let's go to we go to bed. For we go to bed, it's going to be this. It's going to say, what? This is weird. Nous couchons. Yes, we repeat it. Now, think about this. Nous couchons, the first nous is conjugated with couchons. It's the same as we've always conjugated those types of verbs, ER verbs. But the extra nous is saying to ourselves. So it's we to ourselves go to bed. Nous couchons. And yes, you do have to say both of those. It's a little strange. So we're going to do the same thing for you go to bed if I'm talking to one person respectfully or plural. So it's going to be vous couchez. Repeat it. All right. So the first vous is you, and then to yourself is the second one, and then coucher. All right. They go to bed. I'm going to use the masculine and mixed form. Il se couche. Okay. And you would do the elle form the same way. Well, guys, you follow this pattern with any reflexive verb. Remember, if you see that se, it's reflexive, and you need to use it in a reflexive way. But you can do it. So get these verbs down, and the ones I gave you at the beginning, and get the verbs themselves down. Like, how do you say to sit down or to get up oneself? Then start doing specific conjugations with he and she and I and you and we and they and all that. But you can apply the same format to each one of those verbs. Conjugate the verb just like you always have done, okay? Well, guys, that wraps it up for this lesson. I hope it's been beneficial to you. Hey, come visit us on the Language Tutor French Facebook page, and also check out the podcast on Language Tutor French and practice with me on the go. And if you're interested in donating to our channel, just click the About tab right below this video and you'll see a link to donate to the channel. Help us to keep great lessons coming. And definitely pick up something in our Teespring shop, all right? Well, I'll see you guys very soon. I wish for you paix et bénédiction, peace and blessings. I'll see you in the next episode. Au revoir. Friends, thanks for watching The Language Tutor. If you have a question for me, feel free to leave it in the comment section below the video. And please click subscribe and the notification bell so that you'll never miss any of our language lessons.